Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review No Other Choice. This is the newest film from Park Chan-wook. If you do not know Park Chan-wook, you gotta get on it. This man made Oldboy, he made The Handmaiden, and most recently, Decision to Leave. This film is about a man who decides after he's laid off of his job, where he's been working at the paper factory for 20 years, he's gonna go eliminate the competition in his field. And by eliminate, I mean he plans to murder them, going to great extremes to protect this position and also his family and his house. But what really is he protecting is the question. I think this film has a lot of very deep questions that the audience is forced to ask about the character's motivations, watching him transform over the course of the film, almost in like kind of a Walter White way. We're really narrowing down on like, what is it that is valuable to him? And I think what the film does the best is it really serves as an excellent thesis statement for our times, trying to encapsulate where we are within capitalism and where we're headed. And the vision is quite bleak and startling by the end of the film. Overall, I think that's what this film did extremely well, was like paint that portrait and leave the audience a little bit shaken and give us something that's kind of impossible to ignore. I think more than any of his films that I've seen so far, this has the strongest message. Like, it left me with the strongest impression and the most clear commentary about our world. Whereas I feel like his other films are perhaps commenting more on the psyche. I think he is indeed examining our psyches, but also the way that our psyches are shaping the rest of the world into something that might be very undesirable. Yeah, when this movie ended, I was filled with despair for who we will become in this world that is hurtling towards more automation, more AI, more resource extracting. Like, there's no other choice but to go aggressively and hopelessly into the dark in this direction, and the people themselves will be left to make desperate decisions that compromise who they are and their integrity. And I felt that this film never lost sight of the sadness of watching this man do what he feels he needs to do and watching the impact that has on his wife and his family. I feel like it maintained the moral center very well, and it held that ground throughout. As entertaining of a premise as it is in a maybe a messed up way, like watching a man who is mostly pretty ordinary attempt to murder other individuals in pursuit of a goal. Like, it's very cinematic, it's entertaining, it's gripping, it's thrilling. It's also darkly comedic many times, like watching this man attempt to pull off these murders and be very unequipped to do so in the beginning. Quite clumsy. You know, and it just has so many things going for it that the fact that it doesn't lose that moral center is really impressive and commendable. Because the film would have worked on a more superficial level, even if it was style over substance. But, you know, the substance, the symbolism, like the layers that Park Chan-wook injects into this story, and the way that the writing really takes its time to craft the characters and not just draw them as one-dimensional and make their decisions genuinely difficult, really blew me away. Like, this definitely exceeded my expectations. Yeah, the screenplay was so well crafted. I mean, there's one scene sort of in the middle of the film, you kind of get to like his first victim. And I think most films might kind of carelessly get into the killing. And all I can say is that it built up to that moment in a way where I believed it and I saw the hesitation. Yeah. And it also starts to make his victim into like this character of his own, with his own situations going on that I didn't expect. Yeah. And that character's situation became so complicated, I was like, where are we really going with this? But then it all brings it together in this one scene that I thought was just like a fucking symphony. Like, an incredible mid-movie climax where you have so many layers coming together. It's a hoot. It was just an incredible, memorable scene that I wanted there to be like a mid-movie applause, but I wasn't brave enough to initiate or anything. And the entire movie, Park Chan-wook's attention to detail in his directing is unmatched. And if you've seen, Decision to Leave, and I guess any of his films, you understand that. Yeah, this is like as rich in symbolism as any of his films, but also the way that he imbues the symbols with meaning by like doing crossfades or like doing some kind of
visual juxtaposition.
Or the compositions of where the camera is moving, and there's so much intentionality in every shot and every cut.
And some really memorable imagery. It really does feel when you're watching this that you're watching a master at work. Just some of the shots are just so beautifully done, and some of the images are so impactful just in themselves that I saw people like physically reacting to some of the things that Park was doing with the editing and with the images, just putting things together that's like, oh, holy shit, like that was not only like a cool cinematic thing to do, but you like said something with an image in such a succinct way that I was like shocked.
Or like a crossfade. Like the editing in this movie is nuts. It's absolutely beautiful work.
Yeah,
and I really feel like he's on another level here. And with Decision to Leave, which is a movie I really, really like, that movie took me a couple watches to feel like I was on its wavelength. And even then, I felt almost overstimulated by the amount of symbolism and trying to piece things together. But I felt this film had the perfect balance. It never lost me once, even though it is full of symbolism and other details that I think I need a second watch to go back and discover. But it really cohered for me throughout.
I would second that as someone who has felt a little bit like I'm playing catch up to get on Park's level. Where his pacing is just absolutely rapid fire. Decision to Leave and The Handmaiden felt like 4-hour films that were condensed into like a 2.5-hour runtime. And it was almost so fast that it made my head spin. And maybe that's your preference, which is great. But for me, this film felt like the right level where I could digest all of the details without feeling overwhelmed. I mean, this is just a huge highlight for his filmography. Like, I think it stands up against the very best of his films that I've seen.
And symbols are, of course, one way that Park is constantly like making connections in his films, but another in this one is the dialogue. Like, characters will repeat things that were said before that you kind of make more connections. And I thought that the callbacks were really amusing, often hilarious. I'm kind of in awe of this script and how well everything connects.
There are some instances where the characters were like speaking in double entendre as well, and I was like, holy shit. Usually they just reserve that for like the title of the film.
And they also made everybody very smart, I thought. Like the wife is like catching on to certain things where you're like, oh shit, like of course she's wondering if like this is going on.
There was a point in the middle where I was a little bit afraid it would lose me. You know, it got pretty cold, like watching this person transform. And I almost felt like I was becoming more detached from him. But what I think redeemed it and brought me back in at the end was how this was fundamental to what the film is saying at the deepest level. The images that this leaves you with in the ending are going to be impossible to erase from my psyche. All the performances here are also pretty stellar. Lee Byung-hun anchors this film really well. He's often really funny as this kind of bumbling and morally complex man.
But he really brings the audience in on his despair and like his darker past and his struggles with alcohol. Like, you always see like the vulnerable man in there, no matter where you are in this character's progression.
I love ye-jin as the role of the wife in this. And I'm really thinking about how stark the difference is in that character from the beginning to the end of this film. And I think her performance conveys that brilliantly. And I also want to shout out Yeom Hye-ran, who has a supporting role here, who was wonderfully crazy, but also very sympathetic. Really not a bad performance in the film at all.
I also thought there was a more subtle point about how men deal with shame and their self-worth related to their job, and how that impacts like their decision-making versus maybe what women actually want men to be like too.
Yeah, I love how the wife was written as not someone who is begging him to be traditionally masculine, leaving the decision on him. And on that note, I think what the screenplay does exceptionally well is it makes everything a choice. So the characters are never accidentally going down a path at every fork in the road where they could choose to do, you know, something that feels very bad. Like, the title of the film turns out to be a fallacy. There is always another choice they could have made, and the script like brilliantly sprinkles that in throughout so that we understand these characters aren't just victims.
I thought that this was rip-roaring entertainment, fascinating on a filmmaking level. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and there was never a moment where I wasn't completely locked in with this one, and all of the wonderful, detailed choices that Park Chan-wook is making. It never loses sight of what it's about and this complicated character at the center of it. There's a lot to chew on. The symbolism was really well done. I have no complaints here. And I have no other choice but to give this movie a 10 out of 10.
This is definitely like a top 10er of the year, and I really want to see it again. I would give this film a 9 out of 10. We should talk about awards. On that note, I'd like to give a quick shout out that on Twitter, some people don't really like when you talk about awards, and I totally understand that. And that's why you have Award Expert. On Award Expert, I invite you to discuss obsessively about awards however much you want with the new commenting and posting feature. And also consider supporting the Pro tier if you would like to support my endeavor with this project. But let's get to it. I mean, this is an international feature nominee. I believe that is pretty secured.
It was submitted. I know Decision to Leave wasn't nominated. This is let's be real.
I think we just have too much like investment in last time it didn't happen, so like this time this film is going to be stronger with awards than Decision to Leave. Like I think if it was not, I would be absolutely shocked.
I mean, I'll say this. This is the most sort of Oscar palatable type of subject matter genre that I think Park Chan-wook has ever tackled before. I think it really is not that far off from what kind of movie Parasite was. So I really don't think there's that much difficulty there. And these days, we've had 2 international films get in 2 years in a row. So what do you really need to get in? Like great reviews from critics and audiences, and maybe a director who's long overdue, who people want to recognize. Like, which box does this not check?
A consensus that this is one of the best films of the year. I could really see this being like a top 5 film on critics' lists, because it really is that astute.
And it's just like an arresting movie that you can't ignore.
You can't shake it.
And so many people at this point know that Park Chan-wook is like one of those directors who maybe someday will have his time with the Academy. And this does feel like it's the right time.
Yeah, it feels like if not this, then what?
Then fucking never.
And I wouldn't have said that with Decision to Leave. I never really thought that was like a slam dunk. I know we have like 2 other Neons, and they're all international films.
I don't know what to do with that either. I don't know what to do with
But the
reality
reality is, I can't make a case why like it was just an accident is a better suited to get these like director, screenplay, picture package than this film. They feel pretty equal to me, except that I can see it was just an accident's campaign already, and like I believe they're doing a good job. They've given me a lot of reason to put faith that they're going to do that campaign justice, like bringing Panahi to Telluride. And No Other Choice is a bit more of a late starter. Maybe there's a disadvantage there. I'm inclined to believe that that might be true. I also think it's a perhaps disadvantage that it's coming out around Christmas. I mean, that's basically the latest you can release a film. Basically, what that means is you have to campaign directly to the awards voters without relying on kind of a word of mouth buzz. And a word of mouth buzz probably would have worked well for this film, similar to The Substance or Parasite, which came out in like October.
I just feel like this is the level of work that we would need to see from this director, and the right story that like it should get in. Like as long as things are working, I feel like the way that they have been, like I don't know why this wouldn't get in. And my only argument is really like it's hard to see Neon doing 3 movies, and that's so rare. And they're a studio that's only gotten 1 max in. Like this is an incredible task that they have ahead of them to make sure that they campaign all these films and get them out. But I also think that critics are going to love No Other Choice. I just don't know why it would be ignored. That's all I can say. I understand that there's a world where things go wrong, but I don't know why it would be ignored. And people are going to be on the train to get him a director nomination. And also, adapted screenplay is not that crowded. And that seems really easy. Like, I think that actually that nomination probably happens no matter what. It's that good of a screenplay. And it's a great place to reward the film. International feature, it's going to get in, I think.
Yeah.
And the editing. Critics' scripts are going to give this editing. They're just going to give it editing awards. And the editing is so strong that I think it can get nominated at the Oscars if it's in Best Picture. Some are looking at other texts like sound or cinematography. I think those are less likely. And
cinematography is kind of a weak field this year, though. Yeah. And it would be an awesome nomination. So well deserved.
No, it's absolutely deserved. But holy shit.
I do feel a little bit skeptical. Like, I think this film will have a little bit of a hard time getting into the craft categories. Not for any good reason, but just kind of in the way that they ignored The Substance and craft categories. I think,
like, except for makeup. But that's why I'm saying, like, editing is this movie's makeup in a sense. Like, again, because it's you could single it out. And I think Lee Byung-hun could become kind of a critic's pick if critics groups are looking to do something
Maybe.
a little bit different in Best Actor.
See, I don't believe that would translate. I don't think any actors are going to get nominated. I know people are going to get excited about that, but I don't believe it's going to happen.
I also don't believe that it's going to happen, but I think that his name will be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, like Song Kang-ho didn't get nominated for Parasite. Like, these kind of things happen.
Critics' Choice. These guys are not. They're sometimes they're a little off. They're a little not with the times, and they are actually at risk of not nominating this film. But the Golden Globes. We can actually have more faith that the Golden Globes would nominate this film than the Critics' Choice.
Yeah. I mean, is it drama or comedy? That's a good question. I actually don't know. I don't know.
But that's why
either?
If this film came out in November or October, I think it would get the Critics' Choice nominations that it needs. And maybe. I also think it could even get PGA, but it's in the kind of spot where I'm not sure this would get PGA or anything except for Globes before the Oscar, and that would kind of scare me.
Well, look, I would say that if it does do well at Globes, it's going to be in. And especially if it does well at Globes, an adapted screenplay seems likely for it. Then it could sneak into these other categories. Again, I feel like if I'm not looking at like, oh, competition, oh, Neon has 3 movies, oh, how do I fit all these people into Best Director?
Right.
Like, the case just is there for the movie, and that's...
But it's still important context. I think the film has the goods. I'll say that I do have it in 5 categories right now.
I have it in 5 categories as well.
Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know how that will age, but like, I feel like I have to at this point. And if I'm going to be disappointed and I'm going to be confused, then so be it.
I mean,
I got to tell you, I am worried that it's coming out that late. Why are you not worried
Phantom
about that?
Thread, The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Zone of Interest. People were all worried, oh my God, these movies aren't getting the attention that they deserve. Like, I'm still here.
That's true.
The Oscars may come around on it. And also, I really think this will do well at the box office because I think that it's actually, he has quite a fan base. And especially after the Old Boy re-release, I'm seeing a lot of hype. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Do you have no other choice but to put this in your predictions?